Happy Thursday, Run Tribe by Community, and welcome to our Fiery Ember Show. Today, I'm being joined by Amy Golumbia, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, but she can correct me when she comes on. She is the founder of Good Fight, which was created to tackle a common yet overlooked issue in our diets, phytate. We're going to talk a bit about that, but this show is about getting to know Amy through off-the-wall questions that I have here and just straight-up conversations and laughter. Before we bring her on, do me a favor and subscribe, rate, and review the Everyday Athlete podcast on your favorite podcast platform. We have 9 shows, which means there is something for everyone on our network. So go check them out, enjoy them, and then don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Without further ado, let's bring Amy onto the show. Hey, Amy, how are you?
Hey, Jason. Good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show.
I'll give a little bit of background so that people understand how we got connected. It was in, I think, late October, early November. And you were exchanging messages on Instagram. We wound up meeting each other at the running event and talking a lot about Good Fight, what the product is, how it helps athletes and non-athletes as well, which we're going to get into in a moment. But I want the audience to get to know you. And then this way they can understand, hey, I trust Amy because listen to her. She's a real human being and I can go check out her product. How's that work for you?
Sounds good.
So we talked in the green room a little bit, which is funny because I wrote this question down prior to that conversation about you being a competitive trail runner. So what I want to know is, what is your favorite part of trail running? Is it uphill or is it downhill?
Uphill.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more suffering going up.
Yes.
I am a chicken when it comes to running downhill. That's definitely something I have to work on, is like letting go and just running, without worrying.
You don't want to do airplane arms as you run down the hill, down the mountain?
Yeah, some of my best races, I had to tell myself the whole race, let go. And it became obviously like a bigger thing in life, right? But it was, I had to learn to let go and not like hold back and put the brakes on downhills. So I'd say I'm probably better at uphill because of that fact, because I just suck at running downhill and trusting and letting go.
Is the biggest fear tripping and falling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. So funny story, we lived in Arizona for a number of years and we used to go to this little mountain right around the corner from our house, basically. And Lori would finish her run and she would be waiting in the parking lot. She could see me coming. And she said one day she was like watching me run. And then she looked down at her phone and looked up and I just totally disappeared because I had tripped and fallen as I was running down the mountain with my airplane arms, having a blast.
Yeah.
And I will say this, falling in Arizona sucks because that stuff is all hard rock.
Yeah.
Whereas if you fall in like the P and Dub, you got some soft terrain and it's not half as bad. So I understand the fear of falling, but you got to let go. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You started a business. You're taking on bigger fears than tripping and falling on a mountain.
I know. And it's different running in the Rocky Mountains. The trails are pretty different there. But when I went out to Vancouver, I used to own 5 Peaks trail running. So I went to one of my own races out there and had a great race on the way up the mountain. And then on the way down, it was pouring rain. It was slippery rocks. And I was like, everybody passed me because that's how much I suck at running down hills, especially on slippery rocks. So I think it depends on, that was Vancouver area. So that it depends on where you're running. I have run some races in Arizona and it's all very dry and slippery. And it's like pea gravel on top. Yeah. And I'm a hiking guide. So we learn, one of the things you learn first is like how to walk, right? And where to place your feet. You don't have time to think about that when you're running. It's really fast. And that's part of the joy of trail running, is that you do have to think. It's not just running on a road, but you got to think quick and you got to know how to place your feet. And I just tend to hold back a little bit on the downhills. So
I think one of the things that I love about running in the woods, uphill, downhill, flats, is I get to feel like a kid again. Like there's no concern. Half the time your phone doesn't work out there. You're not scrolling or paying attention to the incoming barrage of information. What do you say? What do you think is your reason for loving running in the woods and on trails?
Well, so I grew up in Canmore, which is in the Rocky Mountains, and I I would go running, but it was like out my back door into the Nordic Center, and I didn't really differentiate between road or trail. Like I just went running in the woods, and we didn't have phones, and there were bears, and I've run into bears. And so I wouldn't say it's ever like running like a kid and being carefree, because you always, you can always come around the corner and fully run into a bear. And I didn't tell my parents where I was going, and they were pretty like free range parents and let me do all that. So I think it's just always been my, a place to go to clear my head. And like, I didn't have music, I didn't have anything to run with. Right. So it's just, I guess I knew I needed the trails. I needed the forest. I needed that escape. And I always came back full of endorphins and just feeling so much better. So it still is, I always prefer to run on the trails. Now I'm a little more cautious, especially around here, because we have bears and cougars walking through the neighborhood all the time. So if I'm going to run trails, I usually go with a friend, or I prefer to go with a friend. I do carry bear spray, but I prefer going with a friend. And then you get 3 birds stoned, right? Because my dog gets a run, I get a run, and I get some social time with my friends. So
it's hard to beat all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have yet to encounter a bear, thankfully, or a cougar for that matter, thankfully. I mean, I've seen javelina, I've seen coyote, I've seen wolf out on the trail. I've actually seen a Gila monster in Arizona as well.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like a pudgy little short dragon, right? And it just scooted right across the trail. It's not gonna, we're so much bigger than them. Like there's nothing to be scared about, but
yeah,
it was bright red and beautiful for that matter.
Wow.
Like, do you have bear spray? Like, what's the confidence level in bear spray if a bear is coming across the trail?
I've never had to use it. Anytime I've run into a bear, you kind of get a sense. It's hard to explain. Like you can tell whether they're going to be aggressive or like come at you. I've never run into a mom with cubs. I've seen them from far away. That would be dangerous for sure. I mean, being a race director and having to go, like when we first started doing the Trail Stoke race in Revelstoke, there were bears everywhere. Like they ended up doing a big culling there, and they killed like 30 bears one year. Because and I have run into a mom with cubs while I was out marking the course, and you're in the middle of absolutely nowhere. There is no cell phones reception, nothing. You come around a corner, and I just backed up and I did what you're not supposed to do, which is run away. But I could tell that she wasn't like coming after us. And I was with a friend who was marking with me. And she's like, Amy, you're not supposed to run. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like just took off up the hill, like back out of the area so we had to go back and mark again the next day. But I don't know. I think bear spray there's a decent confidence level in it, but I've never actually had to use it. So knock on wood, hopefully I never have to. And I don't always bring it with me, but I try. And some of us here run with a knife too, because you're like, if you get in a fight with a cougar, you're not going to have they have double eyelids, and so the bear spray wouldn't work on them because I can't remember what. Anyways, you have a better chance of like using a knife with a cougar. And if it's your time to go, it's your time to go.
If I have to use a knife against a cougar, I'm too close to the cougar, right? Like,
and the chances of getting it out of your pack, This is why I prefer to run in Europe. Like there are no big predators there, so it's you're getting the adrenaline on a run, but you're also getting a bit of adrenaline wondering if you're going to come around the corner and run into big scary animals sometimes.
All of our listeners who are about to press register on that trail run are like, well, maybe not.
Yeah, running in Canada has its ups and downs for sure.
When you're telling that story about running away from the bear, all I kept thinking was, you don't have to be the fastest. You just can't be the slowest.
Yeah.
Good luck, friends. I'll see you around.
It was, and I mean, if you're hiking with your kids or something, like when I go hiking with my kids, of course I'm going to go in a group and I'm going to bring bear spray. And I don't camp. I grew up camping in a tent. Now I have a camper van because I'm such a chicken.
I love it.
Like it's old, it's super old, but at least it's got 4 walls, and there is no, kids need to pee in the middle of the night, and I'm not leaving the trailer in the middle of the night. So whether it's a bucket or like a toilet, or yeah, it's just nice to have four walls around me for rain and for bears. And yeah, one day I'll go back to tenting and backpacking and all that. But I fully admit I'm just a chicken. So
stay safe as much as you possibly can, obviously, is the rule.
Stay not dead. That's goal. I just don't want to die out there.
You've mentioned being a race director a couple of times. We've seen all kinds of stuff at races at the aid station. What's been like the oddest request when you were running the 5 Peaks for like aid station food? Did somebody ask like, "Hey, will you have X?" And you were like, "How are we going to get X to the aid station? What are you talking about?"
I don't know that we ever had a request. I prided myself on having really good aid station food, not just like a banana or an orange at the end of a race. Like we really worked hard at that to differentiate ourselves from other races. And the 5 Peaks races were all kind of shorter, like 5 to 20K races. With Trail Stoke, which is now Trent Selkirk's, and I don't own any of these races anymore, but a few times, like these are, 5-day stage races, and it's epic. And like you're going up some pretty crazy mountains, up and down some pretty crazy mountains. And there was a year where, it doesn't matter how many times you tell people, bring weather appropriate clothing, bring a buff, bring a toque, and we check their bags and everybody has it, but you still end up with somebody that threw their hat away or something. And then you're in a snowstorm. So, I mean, we had chocolate covered bacon one year. We had one year, I remember sending somebody, because it was so cold, I sent them for Lipton soup. And then people were coming up to me at the end of the race. Like I'm talking a little like packets of like cheap Lipton soup. And we somehow put it in one of the big dispensers, and people were like, "What was that out on course? That was liquid gold." Like, it's salty, it's hot, it's got like a fatty flavor to it. And they were just like, "This is the best thing ever." Because that's all you want when you're out in the cold, right?
That's exactly right.
I'd say that was like, that was probably our most popular. Oddly enough, the chocolate covered bacon didn't do that well. I was like, "What? Do you know how much money we spent on this?" I don't know. I thought it was going to be a hit, but it wasn't. People wanted, they still want their gels or their fruit, or salted watermelon was a good one. I'm trying to think what else has done well. For me, when I do long races, I want salt and fat. I don't like all the sugary stuff, but that's just me.
Chocolate covered bacon leads me to think about our last week's Food Fight Friday at the aid station, which is now presented by Seven Summit Snacks. And Adam from Community Trail Running, who's up in your neck of the woods, he's over in Crow's Nest Pass.
Oh, yeah.
He presented to me these following 3 food options. And the game is you have to eat one, you have to toss one, and you have to carry one. He set it up that we were, somewhere in the middle of a 50K in Alberta. And the 3 options were chocolate covered almonds, chocolate milk, lactose free if you have that issue, and chocolate crickets. So I'm going to put this on your plate now. Which of these 3 items are you going to eat? Which of the 3 are you going to toss? And which of the 3 are you going to carry?
Oh, toss the milk, carry the crickets, and eat the almonds for sure. I carry the crickets because they're light, and I can't quite get my head around. Like I've had the knack bars and stuff, and I get it. I mean, it's a brilliant form of protein. It's so lean, it's so good for you. And I have eaten grasshoppers and ant eggs in Thailand, like deep fried, and they weren't terrible. They tasted like chips. So like I get that we have a very different way of thinking about protein here, whereas they're like, we eat anything that moves because we don't have the luxury of choosing our protein. So but I think I'd probably carry the crickets. Wouldn't want to take that risk in the middle of a 50K.
Yeah, but you're in the woods anyway. What's the difference?
Yeah. And milk, I don't drink milk, so I don't do dairy at all. So
same. I was ditching the milk myself, and then I would eat the crickets and carry the almonds with me.
Really?
Yeah. My thinking is, as a competitor, I want to distract my other competitors, and I figured if I could like leave a trail markings and have them get distracted and go off into the woods, or if there was a bear or cougar, I could throw the food at them and they would leave me alone. I was using the almonds, as a way to defend my positioning in 88th place in this race.
You had strategy there. I did not think long and deep about that one. It was just a visceral reaction to the crickets.
Well, before we jump into the food, because food is the thing that I love the most to talk to people about outside of their stories of overcoming obstacles, I want you to talk about Good Fight. It's how we met. It's how we got engaged with each other in conversation. And so, and food is a great topic for Good Fight to have that. So, what is what is Good Fight? How does it help athletes and non-athletes, and where can people find it?
So Good Fight is a supplement. It's a capsule. So we have two different products. One is called Immunity, and it's got low levels of iron and zinc in it with phytase, which is kind of the key piece of this. And then this one's got a probiotic in it. So the way that it helps athletes is it breaks down an anti-nutrient that's on all plant food. The anti-nutrient binds to zinc, iron, calcium, and magnesium, and it prevents your body from absorbing those nutrients as well as protein and amino acids. So by using the phytase enzyme, it breaks down that anti-nutrient, and then you have access to all of those vitamins and minerals. So it's been shown to be better than taking multivitamins, because then you can access all the nutrients in your food, if that makes sense. You get better ROI on your food. We've had some great case studies with anemic runners with either pure phytase or the one that's got the low levels of iron and zinc in it, because you absorb up to 150% more iron when you use phytase, and up to 86% more zinc. So we just did a literature review, which is published now in the Nutrients Journal, and it's amazing for people that have had anemia. We've had people that were going for regular infusions and couldn't get their iron to stay high. And then they started on phytase, and like were literally setting course records that year where they were in bed and like exhausted before that. So, absorbing more nutrients also helps with recovery. We have people that find there's a sports med doc in Canmore that he'll go do like huge days in the mountains, and he should be flattened the next day. And he's like, I'm recovered. I feel great. So those are kind of that's high level what Good Fight is.
Yeah, and they can find it at goodfight.com. Yes. For those of you listening, it's GOODPHYTE.com. And on Instagram, it's Join the Good Fight, same spelling. Check it out there. One of the things you mentioned was about, you talked about plants. And so is this something that vegans and vegetarians should absolutely be looking into?
100%. It's so important. If you're a vegan or vegetarian and you're not soaking, sprouting, fermenting your food, you're going to be eating a lot of phytic acid, like anywhere from sort of 2,000 to 2,500 units of phytic acid a day. Whereas somebody who's like eating the standard American diet might only be eating 600 to 800. So you often see vegans and vegetarians that, they get anemic, they get weak, they don't look good because they're not preparing their food properly, and they're not soaking and sprouting and fermenting all of their legumes, all of their beans, nuts, seeds, that kind of thing. So really, really important for vegetarians and vegans.
Awesome. And we'll put that in the show notes, the website, as well as your Instagram handle, so people can come check you out. So let's stick with the food. I would not pretend to be this master journalist, but I was scrolling your Instagram account, and I think I went all the way back to 2023. And there's an image of you on the podium with a pretzel around your neck. And I'm a huge baseball fan, so pretzels and mustard are a key to my nutrient survival when I'm at a ball game, clearly. Like, tell me, how does this come about where you end up with a pretzel? I'm presuming as an award. I don't know. Give me the story.
Those were their medals. It was a race in, was it Kimberly? I think Kimberly, which is just a couple hours from here. It's called Round the Mountain. It was like a 22K race, I think. And I'd never run it before. I heard it was great. It started with like a 8K uphill. It was crazy. And then a whole bunch of like boulders. But yeah, I think that was as far as I can remember, that was the medal.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Like, how could you not want to register for a race that has a pretzel as the medal at the end of it all?
Oh man, some of the races my kids do, the ski races, they're called cookie races. And not only do people bake like hundreds and hundreds of cookies, but the medals are all cookies, which motivates kids. Like, of course they want a cookie as a medal. It's super fun. Yeah.
You have 4 kids, correct?
I do. Yeah.
Do they each have a different favorite cookie, or do they all tend to lean towards a particular cookie?
That's a good question. I mean, I only really make chocolate chip cookies, so I don't give them much of a choice. I think anything with chocolate in it, they're all pretty. Chocolate oatmeal.
Look, I'm not gonna pretend to be a food critic for the New York Times, but like there's chocolate chip, there's chocolate chip, there's gonna be like Moose Track chocolate chip, which has marshmallows and everything else in there. So is it just straight chocolate chip?
Yeah, just the boring like chocolate chip. I do make the fat bombs sometimes. We can't send nuts to the school, so it has to be for like hiking or whatever we're doing around here. But just the keto like fat bombs, it's just like peanut butter, chocolate chips, coconut, and like coconut oil. It's a great, if you don't like gels, it's a really great option. And you can then dip it in chocolate too. So it's a way to get like calories into my kids. I try to give them as much fat as possible. I think kids need a lot of fat. So I try to, and you can put like collagen protein and stuff in there, sneak it in to get them a little protein.
Are you a fan of chocolate? Is chocolate one of those things like you're like, I just absolutely love it?
No, it's weird. I used to. I used to love chocolate, and I don't anymore. I don't eat a lot of sweets, like not even fruit. I'm just kind of more, I eat a lot of veggies, and if I'm craving anything, it's probably more like fats and proteins and that kind of thing for some reason. And I really like peanut butter.
That would nail it. Fats and proteins and peanut butter. I mean, that's it.
Yeah. I have a jar of Adam's peanut butter with a spoon in it at all times. When you're busy, you got to get calories in, and it's so gross. Like people tease me about it, but whatever, I'm busy. So if I don't have time, I can take a scoop of peanut butter and like keep going. I don't have to make a whole meal. It's lots of calories.
Is it literally just a jar of peanut butter that the top is off and the spoon is just sitting in there?
Yeah. So when people come over, like if I have guests, there's a separate jar that's mine. I'm like, don't touch that because it's like it is in my cupboard. This is really embarrassing. Like people find it kind of gross, but we're being vulnerable here, right? Like
keep doing you, lady. Don't worry about anybody else. They don't have to like it as long as it works for you.
It works for me. Yeah.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Definitely.
What? We're about to have technical difficulties here.
And burgers.
Pineapple on burgers, I can understand. I can get behind
egg
that.
And some avocado.
But you're really loading up on the protein and fat here.
Yeah.
Speaking of avocado, it's one of those foods that is like perfect for like a half a second, and then it just goes awful really quick as you're trying to ripen it. But bananas are the same way, right? One day you look at your counter and the banana looks great. You go back the next day and it's brown. Which one is more frustrating for you, that when you go get it and you're like, I missed my 17-second window to get the perfect, is it avocado or the perfect banana?
Avocado. Because it's
expensive.
It's more expensive. Yeah. Yeah. So you wait for it to if I buy avocado, I try to buy it when it's like ripe or almost ripe. Because when you buy them green, they never ripen. They just get brown and gross, especially here. Like we're in Canada, nothing grows here. So we're getting our food shipped from somewhere else. And I mean, I've eaten like fresh avocado in Hawaii, and it's amazing. It's completely different than avocado you buy in the store. But that's like anything that's grown right there is going to taste amazing. So
what's your favorite way to use avocado? Smashing it into on top of a burger, in a burrito, in a rice bowl?
Probably guacamole with lime and salt. I actually just made that last night.
Some recency bias then.
Yeah. My kids love it. So if I'm trying to get fat into them, like my daughter's better, but my son's super, super picky.
Okay.
And with the twins, I mean, the twins are 20. They're both at university. And so they're actually really good eaters now. I was super strict with them when they were little, and the way I fed them, like all very, very healthy food. And then by the time the next two came, life was so chaotic. I was like, just eat something. Like, I try. We still have I have tricks for them to get them to eat veggies and stuff, but I'm not as strict as I was with my other two. And the twins still eat they're really healthy. So
I'm imagining this at the house. Mom, can I get a snack? Sure. Just reach into the cupboard. There's a jar of Amy's peanut butter with a spoon in it. Just get that, kid.
they do. They climb up on the counter and grab the peanut butter when they're hungry. I don't eat bread, so I just eat the peanut butter. Like that's, I don't know. Yeah, one of those like really embarrassing things about me. But
no, it's not embarrassing. This is why I love talking to people about food, their consumption of food, and how they do it, because you get to connect with people. At least that's my belief, right? We connect with people over meals. I mean, there's reasons why you have business dinners, and when you're looking for getting together with friends or family, it's usually over a meal. And I just find like people's food choices, how they eat, I find it fascinating, right? There are going to be things that I won't eat. There are going to be things that I eat that other people won't eat. And that's cool. Like it's all cool. Like I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like I practically have them every day at least 4 times a week for lunch. They're super easy to make. And, I don't have to really think twice about it. There's not much getting dirty other than a knife. So why not do it that way?
You learn efficiencies. I think, like, especially being a twin mom, if my kids were eating in their high chairs and they threw food on the floor, it was faster for me and more efficient to just bend down and like pick it up and eat it than to walk it over to the garbage, right? Like it's food on the floor. Like you just learned that's what you do. Peanut butter's efficient. It's just one of those efficiencies in my life. I also don't fold laundry. I just throw it in the drawer. So I have to choose. You got to pick your battles. I can't be doing what I'm doing and like try to get exercise in and be a good mom and get sleep and all these things and do it all. So I've surrendered to not folding laundry.
100%. We have Mount Laundry in our house right now, right? Like you have no idea that the shirt I have on right now, whether it came out of the bottom of the bin and is wrinkled to the high heavens or not. You have no clue. So why am I worried about this? Yeah. Right? Who cares? Go do the things that you enjoy in life. And folding laundry is not one of them. That's for sure.
Nope. Someday if somebody wants to fold my laundry and I can pay them for it, great. Right now, I just don't. I hang my business clothes. Obviously, there's like a presentation.
Yes.
Going to a meeting. Those are hanging. But for the most part, there's way too much laundry and it's going to kill me if I try to. What is that woman that does all the she folds everything perfectly and all the
Marie Kono or something like that. The Netflix person. Yeah.
Maybe if I'd never had another sip of caffeine in my life and didn't have anything to do, but that's not going to be my life. And I don't know. I don't know if it ever would be, even if I had the time. But I respect it.
Again, right? If it works for you, do it. It doesn't work for me, so I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time here, but again, my journalistic research and investigation came across a post where you tagged a place called Goldie's Donuts. And
you hear all the bad things that I eat.
No, these are great things. Like if anybody Googles my name and donuts, there are pictures all over the place. Like I love donuts.
Oh my God. That donut was like, I don't normally eat donuts. My daughter and I went over to, I can't even remember the name of the island. We left Vancouver and took a ferry over to it. It wasn't Gabriola. Anyways, there was this little donut shop and we stopped and I think she had been there. And she's like, Mom, you got to try this. I'm like, I'm not eating a donut. I'll have a bite. So I think we got 2 or 3 and we're like, I'll just have a couple bites of, each one. And we don't have to eat the whole donut. I'm pretty sure I ate like 2.5 of the donuts and she didn't have any. They were so good and whatever. I don't care. You know what? 80% of the time you should eat clean and eat like all the right foods. And that leaves you 20% of the time where you can just live your life and just enjoy the food you want to enjoy, and it doesn't matter.
Like I love donuts, and Lori says it all the time. I'm like, I'm 51 now, but my whole life I've been whatever age I was going on 90. Like I love old-fashioned donuts. Like it doesn't need to have powder on it or jelly in it. Just a plain donut. I'm like in 7th heaven. Give me my cup of coffee and a donut and we're all good to go. Like I can sit there and I'll read my newspaper and I'll shake my fist at the clouds, yelling at everything.
Is that what you eat during races? Do you ever eat donuts during?
I don't know that I've ever had a donut during a race, but I had, like when I raced Cocodona in 2021, I had Impossible Whoppers and Klondike bars when I was in Prescott.
Mhm.
I had like this massive hankering for those things, and I asked my crew chief to make sure that they were at that aid station when we got there, and it was like utopia. It was so amazingly good.
You got to listen to yourself when you're craving something in a race, I think, because that
100%.
your body, or in general, because your body's telling you what it needs.
Yeah. We do a Thursday trivia, and it'll come out here in a little bit for us today as well. But a couple of weeks ago, I had put in an event on our website called the Moon Pie Move, and it was an event in Nashville, Tennessee, sponsored by Moon Pie. And so I asked our audience, what's a race? Who is a race sponsor you would want to have? And I came up with the Oreo 100. It would start in Oceanside. It would come into Redondo Beach and finish at the Pacific Ocean. So it would spell Oreo, and the Oreo 100 just have Oreos at every single aid station. So as we wrap up this Fiery Embers, what's an event sponsor you would love to have as somebody you could, have the food all along the way?
Ooh, oh my gosh, what's it called? Epic. Epic bars. They're like a meat bar. Their chicken sriracha bar is amazing. Again, like I prefer the savory kind of stuff. I think, Epic's awesome. I think they've been acquired by like a big food company now, but they were started on regenerative farming and like by a really cool group of people. And their food's amazing. And they have really hilarious, or they used to do really hilarious April Fool's jokes. Like they were like, we came out with a placenta bar. And like, my husband was like, did you see this? And I'm like, it's April 1st, right? Like no one's going to buy a placenta bar. Anyways, yeah.
On that note, we're going to have to reach out to them because I think the Epic Ultras on April 1st would be a fantastic event. And instead of making it like a 100-miler, we just make it like a 1.00 kilometer race, as part of the whole April Fool's Day concept. So we'll reach out to them and we'll see if we can get a whole new event going because of this relationship we've just invented.
I like it.
Amy, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time. For you watching and or listening, check out Amy's business, which is Good Fight, GOODPHYTE, goodfight.com. It'll help you become healthier, shall we say. I don't know if the FDA will allow me to say that, but it will help you with your digestion and recovery, as Amy points out. Lots of good information there. Look for us on February 13th, a week from today, when Razik Raouf from Running Sucks 101 joins me on the next Fiery Embers, and we're going to be talking about movies and TV shows in your hometown and whether or not you find yourself more motivated to watch those shows and run to them while you're on the treadmill. Amy, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you. You too, Jason. It was good to talk to you. Take care.